Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Beau Dudley. I'm the class of 1974-1979 law, and it's my privilege to serve as Executive Director of Alumni Affairs. On behalf of everyone at Washington and Lee, a very warm welcome home. This is the opening event of Alumni Weekend, so we are officially underway. Before our program continues, in the last year we lost some beloved members of our campus community. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor the lives and contributions of these members of the family. Former faculty member Henry King, Professor of Psychology Emeritus, and former staff members Napoleon Borges, Charles Dunn, Henry Floyd, Larry Jones, Eugene King, Emmett Mann, Lucille Mays, John McCoyd, Madam McGuire, Francis McKemmy, Michael Miller, Renee Patrick, Charles Updike, and Margaret Williams. Thank you. So a good number of people in university advancement and all across campus have worked hard and joyfully to craft this weekend for our returning alumni. I wouldn't begin to name all of them, but please give them a round of applause. Now there is an important codicil to that announcement, because you see, a month or so ago, we actually asked a few of you alumni to be in charge of the weather. So I'd like those people to stand so that we can criticize you loudly. Seriously, we are in a great place that we love. We're with some of the best friends we've ever had. And let's agree that our spirits are simply too high to be impacted by some liquid sunshine, okay? So liquid sunshine is the phrase for the weekend. This is the signature event for the university's Alumni Relations Program, the largest of our 3 annual reunions. We are so blessed with alumni like you who care deeply about this place, and we're always glad to have you back on campus. We've planned a busy, fun, and stimulating weekend. We're grateful for your own investments of time and resources to be with us. One other housekeeping note, particularly for the great class of 1967. They are, of course, here celebrating their 50th reunion. So, gentlemen, in your registration packets is a very good-looking lapel pin, which recognizes your soon-to-be status as a 5-star general. Our alumni who have already had their 50th reunion. But that is not effective until Sunday morning. So congratulations, and the further good news is that will not be the end of your campus reunions, by a long shot, because starting in 2018, you'll be invited back to campus every year to participate in the 5-Star Festival, and we look forward to seeing you for many, many years to come. Just a very few special guests to recognize before we proceed. I'm sorry that Executive Director of the National ODK organization, Dr. Tara Singer, was called out of town in an emergency just a while ago, but we want to recognize Tara given the evening's proceedings. I'd like to also recognize Economics Professor Linda Hooks, who is the faculty advisor of the campus ODK Circle, and she is also a member of the National ODK Board and the chair of its National Awards Committee. And finally, all the other ODK members in the campus. Would all of you please stand up and let us recognize you? It's now a pleasure to introduce Senior Wilson Miller from Dallas. Sooner than he would like, Wilson will graduate with majors in economics and studio art. Talk about the liberal arts. Wilson served on the Student Body Executive Committee for 4 years, initially as class rep, then as secretary, then as vice president, and ultimately on the top rung as president. You are afforded that 4-year privilege because your fellow members of the student body respect and trust you implicitly. Wilson was also the Texas State Chair for the 2016 Mock Convention and a proud member of the Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity. He is an outstanding student, a Phi Beta Kappa initiate, and the 2017 W&L ODK Alpha Circle Leader of the Year. In his free time, whenever that is, Wilson enjoys drawing, photography, and being with friends. He plans to pursue a graduate degree following a year of work and travel. Please welcome Wilson Miller to lead the tapping ceremony.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Just over 100 years ago, a select group of 15 Washington and Lee student and faculty members founded Omicron Delta Kappa, ODK, to bring together diverse campus leaders for the general good of the institution. Since its founding, the society has sought to honor those students, faculty, alumni, and community members who best demonstrate exemplary leadership rooted in strong character. As the Alpha Circle of ODK, we continue to emphasize this high caliber of leadership by recognizing those with deep-seated commitment and to continued active participation in the W&L community, strong spiritual and moral character, and service to the campus, community, and the world. These initiates will continue in the tradition of our founders and improve the world around us through honorable, innovative, and moral leadership. I'm humbled by both the previous accomplishments and future potential of the student initiates honored here today. We will also welcome 6 honorary initiates into the Alpha Circle. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our honorary initiates for their unwavering commitment to the ideals of ODK, for their resolute leadership even in difficult times, and for the legacy they have created that will guide the Washington and Lee community and students for generations to come. By their induction today into the Alpha Circle, we recognize that our honorary initiates have succeeded in demonstrating true leadership by unifying personal integrity, an inner zeal to understand and transform, and an external genius for motivating others in pursuit of a shared purpose. I look forward to seeing your leadership continue to positively influence the world around us. So thank you. We will now recognize each of our initiates and invite them to the stage for the traditional tapping ceremony. We'll begin today by recognizing our honorary initiates. I will call each to the stage individually, and I ask that you hold your applause until all have been introduced. Christopher F. Armstrong is a professor of sociology at Bloomsburg University, where he has been on the faculty since 1975. In the early 1980s, he was instrumental in starting the Honors and Scholars program at Bloomsburg University. He has also coached the lacrosse club for several years. His research on boarding schools led to several published articles in a book chapter. Later, he began consulting work with the Williams Inference Service, which works with investment managers and corporate strategists. He reports that some of his most enjoyable adventures as a teacher have been summer courses he offered in Salzburg, Austria, and a sabbatical year at Mount Holyoke College. Dr. Armstrong has served his local community as president of the board of the local home health and hospice organization. He is currently president of the board of the local area agency on aging. In 2016, he was reappointed to the Pennsylvania Commission on Civil Rights. He is a member of the Eastern Sociological Society, the North Central Sociological Society, and the National Association of Scholars. Dr. Armstrong graduated from W&L cum laude with honors in sociology. He sang in the Glee Club, wrote for the literary magazine, was sports editor of the Ringtum Phi, and played lacrosse. He obtained an MA in criminology and PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. Please welcome Dr. Armstrong to the stage. Patricia Scott Delaney is a 1974 alumna of Emory and Henry College. 1 year after her graduation, the Lexington City Council appointed her to fill the unexpired term of the city treasurer who had retired. In 1977, Virginia law required her to seek re-election. Since then, she has been re-elected 10 times and is the longest-serving elected official in Rockbridge County. Mrs. Delaney is a leader in the local community. Her activities have mostly entailed serving the public through her office as treasurer. Over the years, her community service has included teaching prepared childbirth, serving as treasurer for Meals for Shut-ins, and membership on the Lexington City Democratic Committee. In 1976, she represented the 6th Congressional District of Virginia as a Carter-committed delegate to the Democratic National Committee. She is a wife, mother, and grandmother. Please welcome Mrs. Delaney to the stage. Patsy Shudo Dorr has a BS in biology from W&L and an MS summa cum laude in adult learning and organizational development from Fordham University. She is the global head of corporate responsibility and inclusion for Thomson Reuters. She has over 20 years of experience in talent, learning, organizational development, diversity and inclusion, employee recognition, and customer engagement. Her prior work experience is primarily in investment banking, with leadership roles at JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, and Credit Suisse in New York, London, and Hong Kong. Previously, Patsy was responsible for talent and learning, employee recognition, alumni relations, and global centers of excellence at Credit Suisse in Asia Pacific, with responsibilities in 14 countries. Ms. Dorr is a trustee of the Dominican High School and Merriman School for Girls in New York City, both dedicated to developing strong women leaders, and the president of Marymount Alumni Association. She is an avid runner with half marathons and marathons in Cambodia, Australia, Hong Kong, Macau, New York City, and most recently London. She has 2 children, Nicholas and Ella, and lives in Manhattan. Please welcome Ms. Dorr to the stage. Gabrielle Croft Means is the Chief Creative Officer at Grow Marketing in San Francisco. Grow Marketing is an experiential marketing agency built from a 2-person consultancy into an award-winning agency that creates flawless live experiences across the country and around the world for top global brands, including Google, Nike, Target, YouTube, Pernod Ricard, Visa, and Dropbox. Ms. Means previously served as experiential marketing director at Banana Republic and worked for GQ magazine. Ms. Means graduated from W&L with a degree in journalism. After graduation, she first moved to New York, then with 2 W&L friends traveled the world. The end of her travels landed her in San Francisco in 1996, which is where she has called home ever since. Ms. Means married a fellow misplaced Southerner, and they are raising their 2 kids in Black Lab near the Height. Gabrielle continues to stay connected with W&L and enjoys hosting the entrepreneur department and their young stars at Grow every spring, along with providing a number of W&L students with summer internship opportunities at Grow. Please welcome Ms. Means to the stage. Carla Klein Murdoch is the David G. Elms Professor of Psychology, head of the Department of Psychology, and a core faculty member in the Shepherd Program for the interdisciplinary study of poverty and human capability. Her research in developmental psychopathology addresses how psychological problems and competencies develop. She investigates links between cell phone habits and indicators of well-being, such as sleep quality, mental health, and cognitive functioning. Her many important contributions to the university include serving on the President's Strategic Planning Steering Committee, as faculty representative to the Board of Trustees, and as discrimination policy advisor. Professor Murdoch and a small group of faculty friends are responsible for the questioning series at W&L, which explores a topic in year-long conversations and lectures from prominent intellectuals. Topics have included questioning the good life, questioning passion, and questioning intimacy. Dr. Murdoch earned a BA in psychology at Indiana University and a PhD in clinical psychology at the University of Georgia, completing a clinical internship at Western Psychiatric Institute and clinic at University of Pennsylvania Medical Center. After teaching at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, she joined the W&L faculty in 2005. She's a former board president of the Woods Creek Montessori School. She and her husband, Bob Murdoch, DVM, have 2 teenagers, Anna and Will. Please welcome Professor Murdoch to the stage. William Hurt Sledge is the George D. and Esther S. Gross Professor of Psychiatry at Yale School of Medicine and a lecturer in humanities. At Yale, he has held various administrative, clinical, educational, and research jobs, including acting chair of the Department of Psychiatry. He was master of Calhoun College along with his wife, Betsy, as associate master, and served a term as chair of the Council of Masters. He has over 160 publications and several edited books. His research has addressed topics including innovative programs and their evaluations in psychiatric education, clinical care, and the language and thought dysfunctions in schizophrenia. Dr. Sledge has led his profession as president of the American Association of Directors of Psychiatric Residency Programs. He has been a consultant to the aviation industry, to the legal profession, and to hospital administrations. He previously served the U.S. Air Force at the School of Aerospace Medicine as flight surgeon. Dr. Sledge is a graduate of Baylor School of Medicine. He interned at the Philadelphia General Hospital at the University of Pennsylvania and had his residency at the Yale School of Medicine. He is a graduate of the Western New England Institute for Psychoanalysis. Dr. Sledge was an avid scuba diver. He's been married to Elizabeth Rose Sledge for almost 49 years, and they have 3 daughters, 4 grandchildren, and 2 more on the way. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sledge to the stage. Now, if you will please join me in congratulating all of our honorary initiates. As they return to their seats, we will begin to recognize our student initiates, all members of the class of 2018. You are encouraged to read about the initiates' many impressive accomplishments in the program. Please hold your applause until all have been recognized on stage. Please also note that some of our initiates are abroad for spring term and cannot join us this evening. They are Gyllenhaal Johannes Beck, Hayden Paul Combs, Shlomo Honig, who is abroad, Ellen Marie Kanzinger, Alexis Lene McGriff, who is also abroad, Rebecca Brian Morris, who too is abroad, Michael David Sullivan, and Yue Hermione Wang, who is also abroad. Please join me in congratulating our student initiates. As they return to their seats, I'll move on to the awards portion of our ceremony. On behalf of ODK, I have the honor of presenting 2 awards this evening to 2 very deserving recipients. Please hold your applause until the end of each award's presentation. The Rupert Latour Award recognizes a sophomore with outstanding leadership potential. This year's Latour Award winner is Elizabeth Mugo. Elizabeth is majoring in sociology with a double minor in Africana Studies and Poverty and Human Capability Studies. In her time here at WNL, she has been involved in community engagement through the Volunteer Venture Program as a pre-orientation trip leader for first years, where she served as a trip leader. She's a participant in the Bonner Scholars Program for Leadership Development, where she has been a member of the leadership team and now is an intern. She has served as a member of the University Committee for Inclusiveness and Campus Climate and as a leader for the Student Association for Black Unity, SABU. Recently, she was elected Vice President of the Executive Committee and selected as an Owings Fellow, which recognizes personal integrity. Please join me in congratulating our Latour Award winner, Elizabeth Mugo. The James G. Leyburn Award recognizes exemplary service to the campus or community. This year's recipient is English for Speakers of Other Languages, or ESOL. ESOL is a co-curricular volunteer outreach program at WNL that has been active since 2001. Representing the group tonight are Professors Mayock and Bada and student Angel Vela. Volunteers work in the local community to provide language services. These include in-school tutoring, family language support services in Chinese, English, Spanish, and other languages, formal translation of documents for community agencies and organizations, and formal programming through teacher training and community events organized in conjunction with the county schools. ESOL promotes child and adult literacy in multiple languages through tutoring, book drives, and fundraisers. The Department of Romance Languages and the Latin American and Caribbean Studies program have supported ESOL in many ways, one of which is connecting ESOL to the curriculum. The organization won an Associated Colleges of the South grant and a Verizon Community grant and has enjoyed alumni support to sustain its programming. ESOL volunteers and leaders have gone on to receive over 15 Fulbright Research and English Teaching Assistantship scholarships. Please join me in congratulating our Leyburn Award winner, English for Speakers of Other Languages. I wish to offer a final congratulation to all of our ODK students and honorary initiates. Thank you again for everything you do for Washington and Lee and the greater community. As you may know, the national headquarters for ODK is located in the former train station here in Lexington, across from the Linfest Center. You are welcome to drop by on Friday to tour the headquarters. I will now return the podium to Mr. Dudley.
Thank you, Wilson, and warm final congratulations to all of the inductees this evening. You and your fellow students and the honorary inductees make us realize that all is well at Washington and Lee. It's really quite inspiring. Thank you. The phrase "needs no introduction" applies on this campus to our keynote speaker. Marc C. Conner's full bio is in your program. I encourage you to read it, but a little bit later. Marc took undergraduate degrees in English and philosophy at the University of Washington, graduating Phi Beta Kappa and summa cum laude, followed by a master's and a PhD in English at Princeton. He taught at Princeton and at the University of Notre Dame. Marc lives in Lexington with his wife Barbara and their 3 sons. He is the university provost and the Joe M. and James M. Ballingy Professor of English, an endowed professorship. And as you're about to hear, he has also found the elusive 36-hour day right here in Lexington. He has published books on Toni Morrison, Charles Johnson, the poetry of James Joyce, and Ralph Ellison. His latest book, Screening Modern Irish Fiction and Drama, was published just last year. In 2012, the Great Courses program released his 24-lecture series titled How to Read and Understand Shakespeare. And in 2016, his 36-lecture series titled The Irish Identity, Independence, History, and Literature. Our prolific teacher-scholar just, and I mean just, returned from his direction of an acclaimed spring term abroad program in Ireland, which he has run 8 times since 2000. He is on the A team as a lecturer in campus alumni college programs and as a faculty host and lecturer on our acclaimed international travel programs. For these reasons and more, Marc is fairly described as an indispensable person here on campus. As provost, he supervises all of our deans and academic programs and several other important areas. If there is an important committee or project at Washington and Lee, there will be no rest for Marc because he will be part of it. Most recently, President Dudley appointed him a co-chair of our next critically important strategic planning effort. So we are indeed fortunate that this delightful, smart, and engaging teacher, scholar, and leader with that kind of schedule accepted our invitation to open Alumni Weekend. Please welcome Provost and Professor of English, Marc Conner.
I'm going to start with a story. As Beau said, I just returned from the west of Ireland this past Sunday, where I was leading my Spring Term Abroad program with 21 W&L students. And back in 2005, one of my favorite students participated in my Ireland program. His name is Rob Rain, class of '07. History and English major, EC president, star football player, who stood on this chapel stage on his graduation day to take his commission in the U.S. Marines. After serving in Afghanistan, Rob went on to get his MBA at Harvard Business School, a little falling off from W&L to Harvard, but I think he got a good education there. And while in Ireland, Rob enjoyed playing poker in the pubs late at night. He learned that the Irish would drink heavily, and the more they drank, the more bold and foolish their bets became. Rob, who did not drink, would sit calmly and play poker until by the end of the night, he was the biggest winner. He used his winnings to help pay for his green fees at as many West of Ireland golf courses as he could. I've now taken 150 W&L students to Ireland in the 17 years I've been doing the program, and I often think about those students. We're based for a month in the little town of Dingle, and the townsfolk love it when we come to town. Every lecturer, guide, poet, historian, local who meets with the students invariably comments on their politeness, their courtesy, their confidence, their friendliness. And it's not just students going through the motions of good behavior. It's a manifestation of character and intellect and a passion for learning and experience of the world. And somewhere in that magical mix, we see what the W&L education is all about. And this has something to do with history. Being at Washington and Lee means one is always thinking about history and about our always changing perceptions of and relations to history. If we think about history with care, we see that history is not fixed. It is moving constantly, like the shapeshifters in all the world's mythologies, from Burr Rabbit to Odysseus. There is the fact of the matter to be sure, but facts are the building blocks of history. You can't deny them, and you reject or confound them at your peril. But facts are not the same as history. For example, it's a fact that Robert E. Lee is buried beneath this chapel. But what are the meanings of that fact? Note my use of the plural. Facts are subject to multiple meanings. Those meanings emerge through our interpretation of the facts and the worldviews we bring to bear on those interpretations. So how can we interpret the fact of Lee's body resting beneath this chapel? Clearly, we bear a meaningful relationship to Robert E. Lee. As a place of higher learning, this institution values Lee's attitude towards and influence on higher education. And more, as a university that places a special value on character and ethics, we surely see in Lee an embodiment of some of what we most value in those concepts. Here I often think of Emerson's saying, "Character is higher than intellect. The great man will be fit to live as well as to think." At Washington and Lee, we seek to teach young people not just how to think, but how to live with honor in a world that seems to reject such concepts more with each passing year. I often think we assign to great men and women not necessarily the values that they held, but the values that we hold. And we seek the authority of their name and persona to express our own values. We project our desires onto them. You see that with Lincoln, for example. He becomes idealized as the great spokesman for freedom for all, when in fact his ideas about slavery and race evolved over time and were often far less positive when seen through the lens of the present than his popular image suggests. And there are many other such examples. This does not mean facts can mean whatever we want them to mean. That way leads to the worst sort of historical relativism, and also that caricature of historical work, so-called revisionist history. Usually by that, people mean something like rewriting the past to match our present desires, regardless of the objective reality of that past. But it's that objective reality that is so troubling. We can't even agree on the objective reality of the present. Take Donald Trump, for instance. To some, Donald Trump is the heroic champion of the common man. To others, he is a blithering and dangerous tyrant in the making. Reality depends upon so many factors, not least one's perspective. But there's also a limit to perspective. I mean, I can say 1,000 times that there's $10,000 in my pocket. I might even come to believe that, but it won't make it true. Reality is not only perspective. It's not only what we make it to be. It has a being of its own that we cannot contradict. And that's where education enters the frame. Understanding the past means first mastering the facts. As Booker T. Washington once said, "I have great faith in the power and influence of facts. It is seldom that anything is permanently gained by holding back a fact." Nowadays, we talk about data, but it's the same idea. Facts are the evidence for what we believe, but they don't speak for themselves. Given the facts, then comes the time for the work of historical interpretation. And that's something I wish more people grasped nowadays. Understanding history is a matter of ongoing, complicated, never concluded work. It's not about grabbing certain positions and ideas and using them to shore up a worldview. It's not about bumper stickers and sound bites. It's a never-ending process of trying to understand how and why it is that human beings do the things they do. And there's always more to learn, always another book on the subject to read, always new discoveries about the personalities or decisions or actions of the people involved that alter how we understand the events of their time and their impact on our own time. And more, there is always a different perspective that needs to be encountered. That is something that I fear is under threat in the university of today. Other perspectives have to be encountered, argued with, challenged, heard. That too is hard work. What I see so often today, primarily at other universities, but not only at other universities, is people encountering a different perspective and saying, "That offends me," and storming out, which is the very opposite of the work of interpretation. It's the lazy way out. It's seeking what is reassuring and comforting rather than seeking an ever more complex understanding of the truth. Tomorrow morning, your classmates are presenting a panel on the history and phenomenon of the Vietnam War. Talk about a contested history. Talk about a complex maelstrom of cause and effect, of facts begging for interpretation, of one person's story running counter to another person's story. And I would think that such a phenomenon looks different over time, that how it appeared in 1967 and how it appears in 2017 must have some differences. For our understanding of the past shapes our understanding of the present and vice versa. There's a dynamic, living connection between past and present. For the only way to understand such a phenomenon is to grapple with it, to enter into it, to work at it. I applaud the fact of this panel. You are truly W&L students. Some things never change. Amen to that. Let me return to the idea of study abroad. Here's what I always tell my students, that a major part of the study abroad experience is learning about the country and culture that you will visit. But that is not necessarily the most important part. That's what you learn about the country you have left behind, how your perspective changes about your home, your homeland, your place of origin and of return. I've spent many months of my life in Ireland. I love Ireland. I love its literature, its people, its history, its landscape. I am as happy there as I am anywhere else in the world. In 2015, one of my students in Ireland asked me if I'd ever consider moving there permanently. And I looked at that student and I answered without hesitation, never. I am an American. That's my world and my people and my values. Just try dragging me away. But my response demanded some interpretation. What is it that I so love about or am devoted to in America? One of the greatest of American writers, Ralph Ellison, really gets at what I think is the essence of being American. Ellison said, America is like a jazz combo. There you have the great soloist, the individual, the hero stepping forward and speaking in his own unique voice. But what surrounds the soloist? What makes the solo possible? Indeed, what are the voices against which the soloist finds his own voice? This is the group. The drums, the bass, the background trumpet or sax, the piano, in short, the community that supports the individual, out of which the soloist emerges and to which he returns when the solo performance is done. That's the American ideal. Self and society, the individual and the community, working in an oft improvised, rough, vernacular performance that lifts them all to a higher plane. Ellison, of course, is perhaps the greatest African-American writer. He was also, we believe, the first African-American to speak in Lee Chapel. When in November 1963, he visited campus at the invitation of dear Severin Duvall to lecture to the students about American literature. His vision of America, like the jazz combo, includes singers of all races. And of course, his great metaphor for America is based on an African-American art form, jazz. Ellison valued nothing more than the multiple, complex, messy elements of American life. Whence all this passion towards conformity anyway? Diversity is the word. Let man keep his many parts, and you will have no tyrant states, his Invisible Man remarks at the end of that great novel from 1952. He concludes, America is woven of many strands. I would recognize them and let it so remain. These are the tensions of American society. Where does the individual end and the common good begin? It is the business of a great university, indeed it is the responsibility of a great university, to equip its graduates to be able to perceive, understand, and work with those tensions. For these tensions define American greatness as they define America's failures. But to simplify, to pave over, or to imagine we can eradicate the tensions once and for all is a pipe dream, and a dangerous one at that. What does it mean to make history? It means doing things that are astonishing, things that will end up defining your era and teaching later generations how you change the world. That brings us once again to the theme of education and the place of education, to these white columns. We talk a lot these days about how we assess successful student learning. We generate learning outcomes and assessment rubrics to figure out if they're learning everything we think they're learning. And that's all well and good. But the real value of a great education does not lend itself to assessment. At the end of a W&L class, I want a student to say, "That course changed my life. I see the world differently now. I will never forget that experience." That's transformative education. And that's what we're really educating for. If it's just learning the physics or the accounting or the economics, well, why go here for $60,000 a year when you could go to JMU for 10? No, it's much more than that. It's working alongside a professor in the lab, in the archive, in the field. It's being inspired to push beyond your limits. It's seeing the world through lenses you never knew existed. And it's wanting to make a difference, to emerge from your community as the individual hero and do something that changes the way we live in the world. This is why I am most proud of my former students who have themselves become teachers. Many of our students seek to teach in some capacity, some middle school and high school teachers. And I tell them, if you teach middle school, you skip purgatory, you go right to heaven. Some in private academies or service postings or in business or abroad and so on. Because teaching is not just giving back to the community that helped you get to where you are. It's also giving forward to a world that is not yet realized. It embodies this past, present, future idea that I'm trying to get at tonight. There's a great concept of this in the martial arts tradition. There, the student's teacher is the master, or sensei. Sensei means teacher. But the teacher of the master is the grand master to the master's students, as if the grand master is also teaching the students of the master. And if any of the master's students go on to become teachers, it's as if the grand master is also teaching through them. It's a tradition of transmission. And one teacher in her time teaches countless students, their numbers spreading out over time. The great Irish writer Brian McMahon, who was also a parish schoolmaster for 45 years, put it more bluntly. He said, "A good teacher leaves the print of his teeth on a parish for 3 generations." The influence becomes so vast you cannot find its end, and that is a wonderful thing. It's how we think about teaching at Washington and Lee, of course. As provost, I'm often asked, what do we look for when we are hiring a new professor? And there are many things: expertise in the field, quality of research, recommendations, and so forth. But the gold standard here is teaching. Is this someone who will get up every morning and their first thought will be about their classes and their students? If so, we want them here. If not, well, there are some institutions with very fine reputations that will probably give them a job. Teaching is a matter of infinite hope. It is always future-oriented. And so teaching is a metaphor, a really good metaphor, for what a W&L education ultimately is. Whatever one does with that degree, and our graduates do incredible, world-changing things every year, whatever one does, practicing law, creating a small business, engineering, creating in a laboratory, politics, advertising, whatever. The point is never only just what one is doing. It is never just the present. It's also working for the world of the future that is yet to be created. And it's always emerging from the world of the past that makes us who we are. Those white columns do not teach us to work only for today. What they embody, the call of the past, shapes us in the present and demands that we look to the future. When I think of the future that our graduates will shape, and when I think of the future of this dear university, I am filled with hope. And so I close with words taken from your very own mouths. On the final page of the Calyx from 1967, I find these words that match my own sense of this university and how it fits into the flow of time. Washington and Lee, we took it from those who preceded us. We leave it to those who follow us. We hope that they will love it as we have, not with blind devotion, but with a love that has grown out of critical examination. The university is ours no longer. We are gone, but it remains. Thank you very much.
I'll now reprise my role as the village idiot following Marc Conner to the podium. One of the ways that describes what we think the university is all about has been embraced by our new president, Will Dudley, and it is pretty simple. He says, we try to find great students and we pair them with great faculty and magic happens. Thank you, Marc. Thank you again. So we are going to adjourn. Mary, do we have things outside or do we not? Okay. You are cordially invited to the Alumni House, Hotchkiss House. The Alumni Association and the Alumni Board are happy to host you for an evening-ending reception. We hope to see you there. Thank you. I want to echo what Marc said about the Vietnam panel tomorrow. I think it's going to be spectacular. I hope you will be there, rain or shine. Thank you. Welcome to Washington and Lee, and enjoy the weekend. Good evening.